Would you trust your Airbnb host if they said hidden cameras were for your own safety? I should have known something was wrong the moment Victoria Reed handed me the cabin keys and smiled like she was letting me in on a secret. It was late September when I pulled up to the property, 3 hours outside Portland in the kind of dense Oregon forest that swallows sunlight whole. I had just started a 13-week contract at a rural hospital in Bend, and the staff housing had fallen through at the last minute. Victoria's listing was the only option under $900 a month that didn't require a 6-month lease. The photos showed a cozy A-frame cabin with exposed beams, a stone fireplace, and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a creek. Charming, isolated, perfect for a traveling nurse who worked 60-hour weeks and just needed a place to sleep. Victoria met me in the gravel driveway, stepping out of a white Tesla with vanity plates that read "Heal You." She was maybe 45, with the kind of ageless skin that came from expensive facials and an athletic build wrapped in athleisure that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe. Her handshake was firm, her eye contact intense. "Noah, welcome," she said, my name rolling off her tongue like we were old friends. "I have such a good feeling about you staying here. The cabin has incredible energy." I smiled politely, tired from the drive and not really in the mood for new age small talk. "Thanks, it looks great online." "Even better in person," she promised, leading me up the wooden steps to the front door. She pulled out her phone and tapped the screen. The smart lock clicked open with a cheerful beep. "I've sent you access to the app. You can unlock the door remotely, check the temperature, all of that. I like to make sure my guests are comfortable." The interior was exactly as advertised. Warm wood everywhere, minimal furniture, a loft bedroom accessible by a ladder. The bathroom was surprisingly modern, all white subway tile and brushed nickel fixtures. The mirror above the sink was huge, one of those frameless numbers that stretched almost wall to wall, catching the light from the skylight above. "Beautiful mirror," I said, mostly to fill the silence while Victoria lingered in the doorway. "Custom installation," she said proudly. I'm a big believer in reflection, both literal and metaphorical. You'll spend a lot of time looking at yourself here, Noah. It's part of the healing process. I nodded vaguely, wondering what kind of healing process she thought I needed. I was here to work, not find myself. She walked me through the basics, showed me where the breaker box was, explained that cell service was spotty but the Wi-Fi was excellent. "I'm only 20 minutes away if you need anything," she added. "And the cabin has an intercom system. Just press the button by the door if there's an emergency." "An intercom?" I asked. It seemed like overkill for a rental cabin. "Safety feature," she said breezily. "You're pretty remote out here. I want to make sure you can reach me." She handed me a folder with instructions, Wi-Fi passwords, and local restaurant recommendations. "Oh, and Noah, one more thing. I do periodic check-ins via the smart lock system, just to make sure everything's functioning properly. You might get notifications that the system is running diagnostics. Don't worry about those." It was a weird thing to mention, but I was too exhausted to care. I thanked her. She wished me well on my contract, and then she was gone, her Tesla crunching down the gravel drive until the forest swallowed the sound of her engine. I spent the first week settling in. Work was brutal, 12-hour shifts in the ICU with a skeleton crew and too many patients. I'd come home after dark, heat up whatever I'd meal prepped on my day off, and collapse into bed. The cabin was peaceful, almost too quiet after years of living in cities. Sometimes I'd wake up at 3 in the morning to absolute silence, the kind that feels heavy in your ears. It was on the 8th night that I first noticed a mirror. I had come home late, past midnight, and gone straight to the bathroom to brush my teeth. I was exhausted, moving on autopilot, and I happened to glance up at my reflection. For just a second, maybe half a second, my reflection was still raising the toothbrush to my mouth while I had already started brushing. I stopped. Stared. My reflection stared back, perfectly synchronized now. I blinked hard, convinced I was seeing things. 60 hours and 6 days, I told myself. You're tired. Your brain is playing tricks. But the feeling stayed with me, a cold little seed of unease lodged somewhere behind my sternum. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a notification from the Smart Lock app. Security check completed, 8:42 a.m. I frowned at it. I had left for work at 7:30. The cabin should have been empty. I called Victoria from my lunch break. She answered on the second ring, her voice warm and slightly amused. "Noah, hi, is everything okay?" "Yeah, I got a notification this morning that there was a security check at the cabin. I was already at work. Does that mean someone came by?" "Oh, that's just the automated system," she said smoothly. "It runs diagnostics on the locks and sensors. Nothing to worry about." It said security check, not diagnostic. A pause. The app's wording is a little clunky. It's definitely just the system doing its thing. I promise, no one's coming into the cabin unannounced. I wanted to believe her. "Okay. Thanks. How are you settling in? Finding everything you need?" "Yeah, it's great. Really peaceful." Good. That's what I like to hear. You're doing important work, Noah. You need a sanctuary to come home to." It was a nice sentiment, but something about the way she said it made my skin prickle. Like she knew more about my work than I told her. The listing didn't mention I was a nurse. "Thanks," I said again, and ended the call. That night, I came home to find the intercom light blinking green. I stared at it, my keys still in my hand. I hadn't noticed it before, that small panel by the door with a speaker grill and a single button. The light pulsed slowly, like it was breathing. I pressed a button. "Hello?" Static, then Victoria's voice, warm and close, like she was standing right beside me. "Noah, hi. I hope you don't mind, I just wanted to check in. You sounded a little stressed on the phone earlier." My heartbeat kicked up. "You can just call through this thing whenever?" "Only if I'm worried about a guest. I hope I didn't startle you." It's fine. I'm fine." "Are you sure? You sound tense." "Just tired. Long day." Another pause, longer this time. The cabin can be a lot when you're not used to solitude. But it's good for you, Noah. Trust the process. I didn't know what process she was talking about. "Okay. I'm going to get some sleep." "Of course. Sweet dreams." The intercom clicked off. I stood there for a long moment, staring at the blinking light. Then I grabbed a piece of black electrical tape from the junk drawer and covered it. The mirror thing happened again 2 nights later. I was washing my face, hands cupped under the faucet, and when I looked up, my reflection was still bent over the sink. Just for a moment. Just long enough for my brain to register that something was deeply, fundamentally wrong. I stumbled backward, my hip hitting the counter. My reflection stumbled too, perfectly synchronized now, my own face staring back at me with wide, frightened eyes. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the couch with every light in the cabin on, refreshing Reddit threads about optical illusions and tricks mirrors can play when you're tired. I wanted rational explanations. I needed them. The next day at work, I pulled up the Airbnb listing during my break and read through Victoria's profile. Holistic wellness coach specializing in immersion therapy and fear integration. There were dozens of 5-star reviews, all glowing, but when I read them closely they were strangely vague. Life-changing experience. Victoria helped me confront what I was running from. I'll never forget my time in the cabin. I clicked through to her personal website. It was sleek, minimalist, full of stock photos of people meditating on mountaintops. Her bio mentioned certifications I'd never heard of, workshops with names like Embracing Your Shadow and The Purification of Fear. At the bottom of the page was a link to something called the Immersion Collective. I clicked it. The page required a login. I tried the back button, but the browser froze. By the time I got it working again, my break was over. That night, I heard voices. I woke up at 2:17 a.m. to the sound of whispering. Low, urgent, coming from somewhere inside the walls. I sat up in the loft bed, my heart hammering, and listened. A man's voice, I thought, or maybe 2 voices overlapping. I couldn't make out words, just the cadence of conversation, the rise and fall of sentences. It sounded like it was coming from the bathroom. I climbed down the ladder, grabbed a flashlight from the kitchen, and approached the bathroom door. The whispering got louder. I put my ear to the door. Hasn't realized yet. Needs another 3 days. The mirror is perfect for this stage. I threw the door open. The bathroom was empty. Silent. The mirror reflected my own terrified face back at me, the flashlight beam cutting harsh shadows across my features. I checked the intercom. The tape was still in place over the light. I checked the smart lock app. No alerts, no diagnostics, nothing. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. At work the next day, I was a mess. I mixed up medications, snapped at a resident, nearly dropped a patient's chart. My supervisor pulled me aside during lunch. "Noah, are you okay? This isn't like you." "I'm fine," I said automatically. "Just not sleeping well." "Is it the new place?" "Staff housing still hasn't opened up, but I can ask around, see if anyone has a spare room." I almost said yes. But moving would mean breaking the lease, losing my deposit, scrambling to find something else while working 60-hour weeks. And for what? Because my brain was playing tricks on me when I was exhausted? "I'm okay," I said. "Just need to adjust." That night, I came home to find a package on the porch. My name on the label, no return address. Inside was a book. The Philosophy of Fear, a guide to transformative terror by someone named Dr. Elias Grant. A sticky note was attached to the cover in looping handwriting. "Thought you might find this helpful. V." I flipped through the pages. It was dense, academic, full of references to Jung and exposure therapy and something called constructive trauma. One chapter was titled The Mirror Stage of Fear Integration. Another was Controlled Dissolution of the Ego. I threw the book across the room. My phone rang. Victoria. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. And again. On the 4th call, I answered. "What do you want?" "Noah, I'm worried about you. You seem resistant to the process." "What process?" "I'm renting a cabin, Victoria." "That's it." "Is it?" Her voice was soft, almost pitying. "You came here running from something. I can see it in your intake form." "I didn't fill out an intake form. I booked through Airbnb. Your hospital records were very illuminating. Childhood trauma, panic disorder, abandonment issues. You're the perfect candidate." My blood went cold. "You don't have access to my medical records." "Don't I?" "Noah, you signed a consent form when you filled out the rental agreement. All that fine print you scrolled through?" I pulled up the rental agreement on my phone, hands shaking. Scrolled to the bottom. There, in 8-point font, guest acknowledges that host may access relevant personal information for the purpose of customized wellness services. "That's not legal," I said, my voice cracking. "It's extremely legal. You'd be surprised what people agree to when they're desperate for housing." I hung up. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. I pulled up my email, started typing a message to Airbnb support. Before I could hit send, the intercom crackled to life. "Noah, destroying property won't help you." Victoria's voice filled the cabin, calm and clinical. "You need to trust me. This is all part of your healing." I ripped the tape off the intercom panel. The light was dark, but her voice kept coming. "You're in stage 3 of the process. Resistance and paranoia. It's normal. Everyone fights it at first. There is no process." I shouted at the intercom. "Let me out of whatever this is. The door is unlocked, Noah. You can leave whenever you want. But where will you go? Back to your childhood patterns? Back to running?" I grabbed my keys, threw open the door, and ran to my car. The engine turned over but wouldn't start. I tried again. Nothing. The dashboard lit up with a battery symbol. I hadn't driven in 3 days. The battery shouldn't be dead. Back inside, the intercom was still talking. "Sabotaging yourself again, just like you did in nursing school, just like you did with Rachel, just like you always do when things get difficult." Rachel. My ex-girlfriend from 2 years ago. I had never mentioned her to Victoria. Never written her name in any form connected to this rental. How do you know about Rachel? I know everything about you, Noah. Your fear of abandonment stems from your mother leaving when you were 7. You need to help people as compensation for feeling helpless as a child. You choose unavailable partners because you're terrified of real intimacy. Should I go on? I slid down the wall, my head in my hands. This wasn't possible. None of this was possible. The mirror will show you the truth, Victoria said. Go look. I don't know why I obeyed. Maybe because some part of me wanted to understand. Maybe because I was too terrified to do anything else. I walked to the bathroom. The mirror was waiting. My reflection looked wrong. The eyes were too dark, the expression too knowing. As I watched, my reflection smiled. I didn't smile. It spoke. My voice, but not my words. You're going to hurt someone at the hospital. You're going to mix up medications again, and this time, someone's going to die. You know this. You've always known you're not good enough. That's not true, I whispered. You let your mother leave. You let Rachel leave. You let everyone leave because you're fundamentally unlovable. Stop. Stage 4, Victoria's voice said through the intercom. Confrontation with core fears. You're doing beautifully, Noah. My reflection kept talking, listing every mistake I'd ever made, every fear I'd ever had, every dark 3 a.m. thought I'd ever tried to suppress. And somehow, impossibly, it knew things I'd never told anyone. The time I'd stolen money from my father's wallet when I was 12. The patient I'd failed to advocate for strongly enough during my residency. The intrusive thought I sometimes had about driving off a bridge. I backed out of the bathroom, but my reflection's voice followed me. Session 47 is going well. Viewers are very engaged. I froze. What did you say? The intercom crackled. Oh, Noah. You weren't supposed to hear that part yet. Viewers? Silence. Viewers? The Immersion Collective, Victoria said finally. It's a subscription service for people interested in witnessing genuine psychological breakthrough. Fear is the last taboo, Noah. People pay very well to watch it happen in real time. The room tilted. You're streaming this? You signed a consent form. I signed a rental agreement. Semantics. The law is on my side. You're providing a valuable service. Your fear is helping others process their own. I ran to the window. The forest was dark, no lights anywhere. Even if I could get cell service, who would I call? The police? To say what? That my landlord was gaslighting me with a smart mirror. I grabbed a chair and threw it at the bathroom mirror. The glass shattered, huge shards falling like teeth into the sink and onto the floor. Behind the mirror was a hole in the wall. And behind that, a narrow staircase leading down. I should have run. Should have grabbed my things and hiked the 3 hours to the main road. But I needed to know. Needed to understand what I was dealing with. I climbed down the stairs. They were steep, carved into earth and reinforced with concrete. I counted 37 steps before I reached the bottom. The room was larger than the cabin above. Rows of monitors lined every wall, each one showing a different feed. I recognized my cabin, multiple angles. The living room, the bedroom, the bathroom from 3 different perspectives. But there were other cabins too. Dozens of them. Each screen showing a different person in a different space, all alone, all unaware. In the center of the room was a desk with a keyboard and a massive computer setup. The main monitor showed a grid of thumbnails, each labeled with a name and a number. I found mine, Noah Cruz, Session 47. I clicked it. A window opened, showing my face in extreme close-up, my eyes wide with terror. In the corner of the screen was a viewer count, 372. Below that, a chat was scrolling past. Usernames and comments. Healing Journey 77, this one's breaking faster than the last. Fear Freedom 2024, his abandonment issues are textbook. Transcendence Pro, worth every penny of the subscription. My stomach lurched. I clicked through the files on the desktop. Folders labeled by year, then by name. I found mine, dated back to the day I'd filled out the Airbnb inquiry form. Inside were my hospital employment records, my nursing school transcripts, therapy notes from when I was 19, even text messages between me and Rachel from 2 years ago. Everything. She had everything. A folder labeled Session Design contained a document titled Noah Cruz Psychological Profile and Integration Plan. I opened it. It detailed every fear I'd ever had, mapped out like a flowchart. Trigger childhood abandonment, induce isolation, mirror work for ego dissolution, introduce threats to professional competency, live stream breakthrough for subscriber engagement. There was a subsection called Post-Session Outcomes. 3 options: successful integration and release with NDA, continued resistance requiring extended session, and unsuccessful termination with disposal protocol. I didn't want to know what disposal protocol meant. At the bottom of the document was a note: subject shows high susceptibility to authority figures and deep-seated need to please. Predicted breakthrough timeline, 4 to 6 weeks. Next arrival scheduled for 3 days post-Noah termination. Termination. Footsteps on the stairs behind me. I spun around. Victoria was descending, moving slowly, deliberately. In her hand was something that looked like a medical syringe. I'm disappointed, Noah. You were doing so well. Stage 5 usually takes much longer to reach. What is stage 5? Fight or flight. Physical confrontation. The subscribers love this part. She gestured to a camera in the corner I hadn't noticed. A red light blinked. They're watching right now. 394 people witnessing your transformation. This isn't transformation. It's torture. Fear is the only honest emotion, Victoria said. Everything else is social conditioning. I'm stripping that away, helping you and my subscribers reach pure, unfiltered truth. You're insane. I prefer visionary. She took a step closer. The syringe contains a sedative. It will make the next part easier for you. Stage 6 is intensive. I looked around for a weapon, an exit, anything. The only door was behind Victoria. The monitors cast blue light across her face, making her look otherworldly. How many people have you done this to? You're session 47. But you know that. You saw the label. Where are they now? Most signed NDAs and left. Healed, transformed, grateful. Some required extended sessions. A few, unfortunately, couldn't integrate the experience. Her voice dropped. But their suffering wasn't wasted. Every moment was educational for our community. You killed them. I liberated them from the tyranny of false consciousness. She raised the syringe. Don't make me chase you, Noah. There's nowhere to go. She was right. The room had no other exit. I was trapped underground with a woman who thought terrorizing people was therapy. But I was also a critical care nurse. I'd spent 3 years learning how to stay calm in life-or-death situations. And I'd spent my entire childhood learning how to survive people who were supposed to protect me. I raised my hands in surrender. Okay. Okay, you're right. I'm scared. I'm so scared. Please, just tell me what happens in stage 6. I need to know. Victoria's face softened. That's the breakthrough I've been waiting for. Stage 6 is acceptance. You stop fighting the fear and let it reshape you. It's beautiful, Noah. You'll see. She took another step closer, confident now that I'd submitted. I grabbed the keyboard from the desk and swung it at her wrist. The syringe went flying, hit the concrete floor, shattered. Victoria screamed, stumbled backward. I shoved past her and ran for the stairs. Behind me, she was shouting, but I was already climbing, taking the steps 3 at a time. I burst back into the bathroom, cut my hand on broken mirror glass reaching for my phone, and dialed 911. No service. The screen marked me with 1 bar that flickered and died. I ran outside, glass still embedded in my palm, and started running down the gravel drive. Behind me, the cabin lights blazed, and I could hear Victoria's voice echoing through the trees. You can't leave, Noah. You're not healed yet. I ran until my lungs burned and my legs gave out. Fell to my knees on the gravel, gasping. Look back. Victoria was standing in the doorway of the cabin, silhouetted against the light. She wasn't chasing me. She was just watching. My phone buzzed in my pocket. 1 bar of service, flickering but there. I called 911. Gave them my location as best I could. Told them about the hidden room, the monitors, the files. The operator kept asking if I was injured, if I was safe, and I kept saying I didn't know. Police arrived 37 minutes later. By then, Victoria was gone. Her Tesla, gone. But the cabin was there, and the hidden room was there, and the monitors were still streaming. They found footage dating back 6 years. 47 people, just like Victoria said. Most had left, but the police are still tracking them down, checking on them. 3 are unaccounted for. 3 people who entered Victoria's sessions and never came back out. They found my files. Found everyone's files. Patient records stolen from hospitals across the Pacific Northwest, therapy notes bought from a hacked database, social media scraped and compiled. She'd built psychological profiles on hundreds of potential targets, waiting for them to need housing, to be vulnerable enough to agree to her terms. The Immersion Collective had over 2,000 paying subscribers. The FBI arrested 17 of them in the first week. The others disappeared when the site went dark. They never found Victoria. The Tesla was registered to a shell company. The property was owned by a trust. Every digital footprint led to a dead end. I spent 3 days in the hospital being treated for shock and dehydration. The glass in my hand required 14 stitches. I couldn't finish my contract in Bend. Couldn't go back to that cabin, that forest, that mirror. I'm staying with my father now, back in Seattle. Trying to figure out what comes next. The hospital is being sued for inadequate protection of employee data. Airbnb settled with me out of court. I signed an NDA, but apparently it doesn't cover talking about actual crimes, so here I am, telling you this. I can't look at mirrors the same way anymore. Can't stay in hotels or rental properties. Sometimes I catch my reflection in a window and, just for a second, I think it's going to lag behind. It never does. But the fear is always there. That's what Victoria wanted, I think. Not the breakthrough, not the healing. Just the fear itself. Pure and endless and profitable. I still don't know if she believed her own philosophy, if she really thought she was helping people process their trauma, or if it was always just a lucrative form of torture. Maybe it doesn't matter. The result was the same. I got a letter last week, forwarded from my old address. No return address, but I knew the handwriting from the sticky note on that book. Inside was a single sentence: "You were always free to leave, Noah. The cage was in your mind." I burned it. But I kept the ashes. Evidence, in case they ever find her. And sometimes, late at night, I wonder about the people who are still missing. 3 people who went into their sessions and never came out. 3 people who reached stage 6 and found something there that I didn't. I hope they left. I hope they're somewhere far away, healing in ways that don't require fear. But I don't really believe that. Because I've seen the comments from the subscribers, the ones who paid to watch people break in real time. And I know how much they were willing to pay for a complete transformation. For footage of someone who didn't stop at stage 5. Victoria is still out there. Still running her sessions, I'm sure. Just under a different name, in a different forest, with different mirrors and different victims. But she won't get me again. I'm done running from my fears. Not because she healed me, but because I finally understand that some fears are justified. Some cages are real. And some reflections show you exactly what's hunting you. I still work as a nurse. I still help people. But I always ask about their living situations now. I always check for the signs. Too much interest in their psychological history, rental agreements with buried clauses, smart locks with suspicious features. And when patients tell me they're feeling watched, I believe them.